Hello, Mr. Fisk. Miles?
This is not the Prowler. This is the Prowler a lot of people may know due to his recent explosion in popularity in various adaptations like Spider-Verse movies and the Spider-Man Miles Morales game. Two massive Spider-Man adaptations, if we're going to be honest. Aaron Davis is Miles Morales' uncle, who's a criminal. However, he cares about his nephew above all else. He's a solid character that has sort of moved to Miles Morales' Spider-Man mythos. You know, he's kind of on that side of the mythos. But this isn't the original Prowler. This is the Prowler. The original Prowler in 616 comics is HOBIE Brown. Nope, not Spider-Punk, although that is a variant of him, and it is a freaking cool-ass variant. The original version of Prowler is a Peter Parker Spider-Man villain, first appearing in Amazing Spider-Man 78. HOBIE Brown is, to my knowledge, the first black character to be a part of Spider-Man's Rogue Gallery. On top of that, he's also one of the first Spider-Man rogues to not actually be truly evil. He's actually redeemed very quickly and is often shown as like an anti-hero or under the guise as a villain, but it's just a misunderstanding. HOBIE Brown's Prowler deserves way more love and notoriety than he's getting, y'all. He deserves it all. Aaron Davis is the Prowler most people know of nowadays. I mean, he's gotten adapted in a lot of popular stuff. As he gets adapted more, it looks like HOBIE will never don the suit again. But us fans of the character from the comics and the 90s show know who the Prowler really is. And by the end of this video, I guarantee you'll want more HOBIE Brown Prowler. Guarantee! In the comics, HOBIE Brown is first shown off as like a direct mirror to Peter Parker. He's a hardworking man who feels like he can't get his life together. His boss is always on his back, hounding him about work, and he just wants to get his life in order. He's a young adult like Peter. Peter has Gwen, and HOBIE has Mindy. It's like a direct reflection. HOBIE worked as a window cleaner who had been at the bottom for a bit, and he was tired of it. What would be his last day on the job, HOBIE's cleaning windows at the Bugle when his boss starts chewing him out for being lazy and not working hard. His boss even says something along the lines of "you people" to HOBIE, and J. Jonah Jameson was not happy. Again, this was at the Bugle, so Jameson heard this. J. Jonah immediately lays into HOBIE's boss about it, and HOBIE's boss is flabbergasted that Jonah would take a black man's side. HOBIE Brown had enough of his boss and the thinly veiled racism he put in front of us, and he left. This scene alone is so ahead of its time. Not only is Marvel willing to show a black character and a white character as direct mirrors of one another, which is something very progressive at the time, but they also write with language that's even still used to this day. You people, that's like an actual racist thing people will say today. Like, you'll hear it still, 50 years later. It's really sad that the world hasn't progressed past this point, but hey, at least it's relatable. It's something that, like, I picked up this book, like, what was it, like a month or two ago, and I was rereading, and I was like, I don't remember it being this, like, relatable. This is crazy. I gotta give props to Marvel for being on the right side of history with this one, man. Also, it's immaculate character design for Jameson to be such a loudmouth, outspoken capper, but he's totally about social justice. Way ahead of his time, man. HOBIE's also not characterized like most black people are in stories, especially back then. You'll often see black people characterized as thugs or lowlifes or dumb people, especially back then. As a black man, I find it very disheartening reading older comics, because a lot of the time, you'll see stuff like this that's just like inherently racist, and it's not actually fighting for the side of progressiveness. It's just racist itself. Spider-Man, however, just wasn't like that, thankfully. He was written by some people who actually care. How is HOBIE characterized? The man is a super genius scientist who can make his own suit that could contend with Spider-Man. The window cleaner is also a man who can create claws and climbing tech so advanced he can leap up the sides of buildings. Like, this is cool! It's freaking awesome going back reading older comics and seeing my people not being shown off in a disrespectful light at every turn. Like, this is cool, man. To continue with the story, HOBIE Brown leaves the job and he designs the Prowler suit because to him, he's done with being at the bottom. It's time to get rich and get rich quick. His thought process was he can sneak into the Bugle he worked at earlier today, steal the Bugle's money, and no longer be a bottom dweller. However, when he gets to the Bugle, Peter Parker's inside and Peter gets in the way. Peter hurls himself out of the window so he can use it as cover to change into Spider-Man. This causes HOBIE to think that HOBIE just murdered an innocent kid, and he begins to go through it. Not long though, Spider-Man shows up and it's a scrap. HOBIE does well, but Spider-Man just overmatched him, man. Spider-Man notices the way he talks and acts is quite childish, but before he could bring him in, the Prowler uses smokescreen to escape. Prowler leaves and he's really just beside himself, thinking he literally killed a kid when Peter fell out of the window. He sets out to rob again and Spider-Man finds him and round 2 happens. This time, Spider-Man actually apprehends him and unmasks the Prowler. Hobie Brown's just sitting there talking to Spider-Man, and he tells him, like, put me in jail, man. Like, it's over. I'm done. Fine, you got me. But, like I said, they're a direct mirror of each other. Spider-Man sees Hobie, and he's like, this very easily could have been me. Spider-Man levels with the man, saying he understands where he's coming from. At this point, he hasn't really robbed anyone yet or committed any crimes, so Spider-Man just lets him walk away. This two-part story bangs, y'all. From the original suit design to the characterization, it all rocks. Hobie would go on to work with Spider-Man, even wearing Spider-Man's costume to divert suspicion from his real identity. When it's believed that Spider-Man killed Captain Stacy, Hobie Brown dons the Prowler garments one more time and tries to apprehend Spider-Man to bring him to justice. The Prowler would be shelved for a bit, but he does make a few appearances in the 90s we gotta talk about. Spider-Man heads out west, and the Prowler and Spider-Man actually end up teaming up with one another, and it's freaking sick. Hobie's longtime love interest Mindy got into it with the wrong people, and Prowler and Spider-Man had to clear her name. Very interesting storyline. The artwork is also done by Todd McFarlane, and it is godly. It literally looks like early works in design for Spawn. You see how the cape moves and everything, and it's just like, holy God. Prowler even got his own mini-series in the 90s. It's so good, man. He takes on like a copycat, and he fights the Vulture himself. The artwork, also great, man. Hobie would go on to don a new mantle and then later on hang up the role for good. We don't see him for a while before he returns to work for Spider-Man when Spider-Man owned his own corporation. It was a weird time at Marvel. And lastly, we would see him in Miles Morales' Spider-Man when he gives the original Prowler suit to Aaron. That's Hobie Brown in the 616 comics, people. He's not Spider-Punk, he's the Prowler, and he's totally different. One of Spider-Man's first ever villains, one of Spider-Man's first black rogues, one of the first Spider-Man rogues to become a good guy. This character is iconic, and he's become forgotten about for some reason. I don't know why. He should be shown off way more. Hobie Brown's Prowler has been adapted twice to my knowledge. Both times pretty decently, honestly. The first time in the 90s cartoon and the second time in the 2017 cartoon. The 90s show is a very solid adaptation of the character, but it's not really too accurate. And honestly, it misses a lot of what makes the comic so great. Hobie first meets Spider-Man when he tries to rob MJ.
$12? This ain't gonna get me anywhere.
Damn, MJ's broke. Spider-Man webs him up and he sends him to jail. So already it's different. Hobie then becomes a Prowler when he meets Fisk's son in prison. He saves the little lad's life, and then Kingpin helps him out. He gives him a reward. The reward? A suit. The Prowler suit. This way Prowler and Hobie Brown can get rich and get out of the bottom. So it's kind of similar, but it's a little different. Where it differs is Hobie Brown is not a super genius this time around. He didn't make his own suit. He was gifted the suit by the Kingpin. And this time he actually does commit a crime. In the original story, Spider-Man lets him go because he didn't actually do anything wrong. In this story, he robbed MJ. That's about as wrong you can get in Spider-Man's eyes. In the end, this portrayal of the Prowler does show him to be remorseful, and he does become a good guy when it's all said and done. But taking out of the fact that he's a genius is kind of meh. You know, it kind of ruins a lot of it for me. It is cool, though, to see this design in the show. It looks great, gotta say. In the 2017 show, he's a bit less fleshed out. He's a hitman for hire, kind of like Taskmaster.
You kiss your mother with that face? Jeez. Hey there, Slick. We meet again. And
he does pivot towards being good. He doesn't get like a full-on episode for himself, though. He's kind of like one of multiple characters featured in episodes. So you don't get like a full fleshed-out story just for him. I also don't like his suit as much in this show. I think it's way better in the 90s show and in the comics. But it's cool he got adapted. Hobie Brown, 2017, put into an adaptation. Let's go. Hobie Brown's Prowler compared to Uncle Aaron's is just different. Aaron, in most iterations, is defined by his want and longing to protect Miles. He freaking loves that kid. His initial iteration, less so than that. He's commonly adapted and currently in the comics as a dude who's working hard to try and be better and help his nephew grow up. In Spider-Verse, he's like the Uncle Ben moment for Miles Morales, and I think it's terrific. Yeah, it's not accurate, but like this is really cool and really well done. The Spider-Man game has Aaron as a reformed criminal who sells out his boss and helps his nephew. Both of these characters are great and fun, but they don't hit the niche that Hobie did initially, you know? Commonly in today's society, black people are championed for their ability to create art, whether it be drawing or music. They also are championed for being athletic and playing sports. I think all this is dope. Like, I love arts and I love sports. But it's also nice to see black people as scientists who are smart enough to create their own tech. All of this stuff is important and should be shown in Hobie Brown Prowler adaptations. The main differences I find between Hobie Brown's Prowler and Aaron's Prowler is that Hobie has always been a character that's defined by his intelligence and longing to help others, whereas Aaron has always been defined by just wanting to help Miles. Hobie Brown wants to do good because he knows he can. Aaron just wants to do good for Miles. They're both fun characters. I just personally love Hobie Brown's Prowler so much and wish we'd get more adaptations of him. He's just godlike, man. If you agree, you should totally subscribe to the channel. Check me on Twitter. Check out the Discord. And if you really love me, purchase a membership. Get a cool Spider-Man head next to your name. Until next time, dunk out. Peace.